When it comes to keeping an eye on your business, Bay Alarm brings the best, like networked video surveillance systems so you can view your security cameras from anywhere. It's one more way we keep our eyes on what you prize. Because if your security is not the best, you're not secure. Go to bayalarm.com/KNBR video for a special offer to all new business customers. Now, more than ever, Bay Alarm. ACO 28CCL880138.
ESPN's draft scout, top analyst Matt Miller joining us here on the Murph and Mac show. Matt, we're like at the end of a marathon. You're talking to the Niner flagship here. We're just exhausted, trudging to the finish line.
Things are getting blurry. Yeah.
At this point, we're like, just give us somebody. Give us somebody, right? How you doing, Matt?
I'm hanging in there about like you guys are. It's a long process, and especially, the last month has been a whirlwind of, I've covered the draft for a long time. My first job was actually covering the Niners drafts way back in the day. And so for me, it's like there's a tie to this team. And, growing up as a Niner fan, it's like you love it. And I've never seen this much attention around a 49ers draft before. And so like that, I think makes it fun and interesting, but also very stressful for you guys and very stressful for the fan base, which I think we're all seeing play out on social media basically on a day-by-day basis at this point.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's just start with the guy that, immediately jumped into the lead when the Chris Simmses and the Mike Lombardis of the world said within 24 to 48 hours of the trade, they did this for Mac Jones. And everyone was like, wait, what? Take us back, Matt, to maybe your brain process at that point in time. When the Niners made the trade, were you among those who said, oh, yeah, they did this for Mac Jones because he's the Kyle kind of guy? Was that your first instinct, or were you like, no way they did this for Mac Jones?
So when the trade went down, I was standing at the BYU Pro Day about 15 feet from John Lynch, and I was standing there with Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh and a couple other folks who probably don't want their name mentioned, and just standing there like just waiting for Zach Wilson to throw at the BYU Pro Day. And I had walked away previously to go to the ESPN set to do a SportsCenter hit, and I made eye contact with John, gave a little wave, head nod thing. And then I walked back to the scrum. He's got this gigantic smile on his face. I'm like, what is he doing? And then about 5 minutes later, we all get the buzz of our phone from the Adam Schefter tweet alerts that the Niners had pulled off this trade. And so I'm standing there with a lot of people who, run the New York Jets and some other folks. And everyone kind of is like, it's Mac Jones. I mean, and I'm in a group of probably 8 people, and all masked up, by the way. And they said, and everyone in the group was like, yeah, it's for Mac Jones. So at the BYU Pro Day, people knew that it was for Mac Jones. And so I've taken a lot of heat from Niner fans because they want it to be Justin Fields and they want it to be Trey Lance. And my job is to tell people what I've heard from NFL teams and from NFL sources. All I've heard for the last month is Mac Jones. So I heard you guys saying before I came in, it's hard to believe that they would trade up not knowing who the pick was going to be until today. And I just simply do not believe that. I know they're saying that. Again, in the 11 years covering the NFL draft, I've learned that general managers and head coaches will lie to your face. And that's part of the job, right? It's part of it. You want to keep people on their toes.
Right.
2 years ago, the Arizona Cardinals team account was coming at me. The tweets are still out there because I said they're going to take Kyler Murray. And they were like, Josh is our guy. Guess what they did? They drafted Kyler Murray. So you can't believe anything these teams say. I'm from Kansas City area. There was a press conference where Brett Veach said Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher are our offensive tackles. He cut them 2 days later. You cannot believe anything these guys say because it doesn't matter. Why would we think that they would finally be honest about things? Like, oh, well, now they're not lying to us. They do, and they have, and they will again. So it's funny to me that, like, have you ever heard of this? This happens in I'm a big true crime guy. And what happens a lot when police arrest the wrong person is they have a confirmation bias. They think a person is the suspect, so they look for all the information that points to them and none of the information that points away from it. And that is San Francisco 49er fans for the last month. They think it's Trey Lance or Justin Fields, so the only intel they're looking at points that direction instead of all the information that says it's going to be Mac Jones.
Everything you're saying is on point. It needs to be reminded and repeated. They will lie to your face. Why do you forget this? Why do you not get this here? Everybody who's smart and connected, who does this for a living, has come to this conclusion. Why are we're overthinking this because we have work expands to time allotted. You know what I mean? It's like we have a month to kick this thing around. So let me ask you this, Matt, just in terms of forget about football players and actual performance on the field. Let's talk about political front office cloak and dagger stuff. What is in the 49ers' interest in being so cagey? Why don't they just say, yeah, we know who it is, and you'll see on Thursday?
They could do that. That's the thing that almost makes it, you like, wait, why are they doing this? And
yeah.
I read this earlier in the week, and I do believe this, that they like the attention. They like that they're pulling the strings. And one thing that you have to remember is they really enjoy that they don't leak. Like, that's the big thing, right? And I'm saying that in air quotes. You guys can't see me, but I'm saying we don't leak. And that's just not true. And so, I think the last 4 drafts, and there were a couple of years where I missed their pick. There were a couple of years where, like, you nailed Deebo Samuel in the second round because you heard they loved him. And, you nail other picks because you hear from this front office who they like. And so I think some of it is, too, that John Lynch, when he got hired, said, we're going to put an end to the Trent Baalke leaks. We're going to end that. And so you kind of want to save face with that. But it was like 3 weeks ago, Adam Schefter was like 99.9% sure it's going to be Mac Jones. Adam Schefter doesn't say that for clicks or for fun. He says what he knows to be true, and when does he ever report something happening, a transaction, and it doesn't happen? Right? So I don't know why they're doing this. Some of it might be, we could play conspiracy theory for a moment. It might be that the NFL has said, hey, we all know who the first 2 picks are going to be. If you guys could just chill and not tell everybody what's going to happen so that we have some drama in the first hour of this show that we're hoping 9 million people will watch, that would be great.
It's the entertainment business, and some of these things you've said are definite possibilities. Liking the attention. You know what I mean? Hey, why'd you do that? It's like the boy who cried wolf or whatever. Hey, it's fun to be talked about. It's fun to – they're a cat with a ball of yarn. They know what they're going to do, and let's mess around with some people. Let's also – fly around, see Justin Fields, see Trey Lance. All right, Matt. Well, if we're talking to Matt Miller, who, of course, is ESPN's NFL draft analyst, and he's the founder of thedraftscout.com. Go check it out. Matt, let's talk about Mac Jones, the player. If you've been to these pro days, you talk to the people in the know, and, actually, let me phrase the question before the second part. Let's talk about Mac Jones, the player, before the 49er trade. What were the NFL scouts saying about him before the 49er trade?
Most accurate, probably the smartest quarterback in this class in terms of information retention, being able to see something and understand it to where he doesn't have to rep things out, a ton of times before it clicks for him. Incredible ability to process information on the field, what he sees pre-snap, what he sees post-snap. One scout I talked to said, go back and watch when Tua got hurt last year. And they lost. I think it was the Auburn game they lost. He's like, but watch that game and tell me what you notice about the offense. So I do it. Time goes by, I do it, and I get back to him. It's like it was a completely different offense. Steve Sarkisian opened up the playbook for Mac Jones. They were doing things they did not do with Tua. And so that that staff was so comfortable with him being able to understand what he saw out there. And especially for being, at the time, I think it was his 3rd game. And he was just running full field concepts and working through progressions and what he does mentally is fantastic. And athletically, it's not bad. And this is something we're going to talk about today on NFL Live, but I'll give you my spiel before I hop on there, is that the wide receivers that he had were really good. And, over time, 4 of them will be first-round picks. John Mechie will be a first-round pick next year if he comes out. Those guys didn't really have to work real hard to get the football. And that is a testament to their talent. It's also a testament to how accurate he is that, man, I didn't play receiver past high school, but I would have loved to have a guy throw the ball like that where you don't have to – you're not high-pointing, you're not breaking stride. It's just easy, catching the ball. And it's been a long time since the San Francisco 49ers have had a quarterback like that.
I mean, we're talking to Matt Miller, ESPN NFL draft analyst, founder of thedraftscout.com here on the UMA guest line. And, Matt, I guess, as much as we all – we're emotional fans. We're not sort of dispassionate film analysts. And Jimmy G did a lot for the franchise, and sort of rescuing him in 2017, going 5-0,
pretty much resurrected him, really,
injecting hope, took him to the Super Bowl,
and
all this stuff. And yet, when you say that Mac Jones was always on point and never high pointed and all that stuff, you think about these moments in Jimmy's career where, like, some people blame the George Kittle knee injury on him for throwing the ball too high.
I think I'm one of those people. So yeah, the Super Bowl, you hit that pass to Emmanuel Sanders. It's a different game. So yeah, and understandably, that's a small proportion of throws over the course of, a season, basically. But I think with Jimmy, my complaints would be that, that almost timidness with throwing the ball down the field and then inconsistency with ball placement. Like, those would be the biggest issues for me, on top of the injuries, right? But I think on the field, those would be the two things where if you can have a double-digit lead on the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo as your quarterback, when you had to only throw the ball like 8 times in the NFC Championship game, imagine what you could do with someone who, even if Mac Jones is just a little bit better version of Jimmy Garoppolo, a little bit better Jimmy Garoppolo wins this team a Super Bowl. So, that's pretty good. You would take that, I think.
Yeah. Do you think that NFL, where we're at with starting a rookie, like say they draft Mac Jones, and do you think in Kyle's world he starts week 1?
That's tough. I think he's prepared to. I think he's good enough to. I don't have any questions about that. I think he's definitely talented enough to do that. I think it would just be a matter of what they could get for Jimmy this weekend. Is probably what it comes back to, is if they do try to trade him. But I think if you rolled out week 1 with Mac Jones as your quarterback, you're probably doing okay. And the other thing to remember is if you're drafted in the top, 5 at quarterback, you play pretty early. Tua played after the bye. Obviously the Justin Herbert situation was expedited because the team doctors in LA. But if you're drafted in the top 5 or 6 at quarterback, you're playing your rookie year, no matter who's ahead of you. And people can say, well, Mahomes was the 10th pick, and he was coming out of a system that he was no way ready for the complexity of Andy Reid's offense. He wasn't ready mentally to handle it. It was like learning a foreign language. I think with Mac Jones, the beauty is you're getting a guy who's already fluent in everything that you're doing and is just ready to go from day one.
Just last one, just on the Trey Lance, Justin Fields, even though you're pretty certain it's going to be Mac. Was there anything to the John Beck connection? How Kyle worked with, or Kyle and Beck worked with those guys. Was there anything to that?
I don't think so. I think it's really good for John Beck. His business is going to be booming next year. I don't see anything to that where it's like, oh, well, he asked John Beck to work with Trey Lance. He's going to be the guy. I think that's smart by Kyle to say, hey, come work with my guy. Let's see how well you pick up the verbiage, see how you pick up the concepts. Because, why not? You have this time. You want to check every box. You want to make sure you go back and look at everything. I think it's smart, but I don't read into that of they're going to draft Trey Lance because he had John Beck work with him. I don't think it's that type of situation where I would say the fact that they didn't ask John Beck to work with Mac Jones, you could spin that the other way. They're that comfortable with him that they didn't ask their, private quarterback guru to get down there and work out with him.
Man, oh man. All right. Well, listen, Matt, we very much appreciate the stuff. You being, on the boots on the ground the day of the trade with Lynch and Provo is a pretty cool story here. Go check it out, thedraftscout.com. Watch him later on NFL Live, ESPN's NFL draft analyst, Matt Miller. So thank you for coming on. Enjoy tomorrow night.
All right. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt Miller.
When it comes to keeping you and your business safe, Bay Alarm is committed to be the best, with additional safety protocols like enhanced cleaning practices, protective equipment, and social distancing in the office and on the job site. It's one more way Bay Alarm puts the pro in protection, because nothing matters more than your safety. Go to bayalarm.com/KNPR for a special offer to all new business customers. Now, more than ever, Bay Alarm. AC 028CCL 880138.